Welcome back, everybody. My name is Tim, and this is Noah, and we're doing another Real Ideal Gear review. Today, we're actually going to be going through Noah's thought processes on a handful of watches that he likes, and also a few watches he doesn't like, just to kind of get an idea of preferences.
Picky.
Now, when it comes to watches and choosing watches, obviously it's an individual case-by-case basis. So I'm curious to see what he has to say. Now, we did this a year ago where we talked about our watch collections. You had, I think at the time, a 5-watch collection.
Might have been 4 at that time.
4, okay.
Now we're up to 5.
Now we're up to 5. And so it's kind of contrast as far as collection and why you have a smaller collection, why I have a larger collection. And we just kind of, and you've maintained that collection over the year.
It's slowed to a stop.
To a stop, right. So we have some differences. At the same time, we really enjoy watches, so this is not anything that really gives us cause to argue and choke each other out. So this is something that I think just kind of interesting to find out what it is that you're thinking about when you choose your watches. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Is there a fifth one up here?
Nope, just those
Just
4.
4, okay. And then we got
3
over there, no goes. Okay. So what we're going to do is you're going to see us kind of move around a little bit here because we have 2 cameras going. So just so you know that we're not, I don't know. That's the way the editing process goes on this one. So first watch first. Which one would you like to choose? Put it in front of the camera.
All right, I'm going to pick my favorite of all time from the Real Ideal collection here.
Yeah.
Yeah. There.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And I would definitely pick this one as well. So I'm curious as to, all right, so describe the type of watch it is, kind of go through what is it that catches your eye, that whole thing.
Yeah, well, starting off, it's a dive watch, and I think those were my favorite going in when I started to learn a little bit about watches, and this fits that, obviously.
Yeah.
But it also fits more of the dressy, right? I kind of like overall a more minimalist design where there's not too much going on, which you'll see with some of the watches that I didn't like so much. But for the most part, it does have everything that I like. It's got the red color. It's not any yellows or bright oranges, as you have a couple of. But yeah, it's pretty simple. There is a little bit of detail in the dial, and as you'll see when I talk about liking more minimal watches, there's a lot of exceptions, and it's more of a for the most part. And then some of this stuff I can't really explain, as most watch collectors probably could attest to. It's just kind of, that one kind of piques my interest. It looks interesting.
Would you say that you have kind of a consistent, you kind of know what your interests are when it comes to the dial and the handset? You're pretty conservative about those things, or consistent as far as I just like these colors and I like this style. I don't, you've kind of narrowed it down into what. So what are those things that you like about the dial of a dive watch?
Dial of a dive watch, probably a lot less going on for the most part. You'll see, I think 3 of the 4 that I have here are all indices rather than the numerals, and so that I think is a little bit less information. I kind of like the more sleek, minimalist look in that way.
Sure.
Yeah, and this Adamascus one has got the squares and not too much going on, but it's still there is quite a bit going on in the Adamascus. But this is going to be one of those small exceptions that I have.
I would say you have a trend towards sportier, dressier watches rather than the more rugged tool watch. Is that a fair thing to say?
That's absolutely fair. I think I kind of
okay.
I drink the Kool-Aid a little bit as far as the more hyped looking watches or the ones that kind of get attention.
Mm-hmm.
I even have what would you call that, a replica watch in some ways with the Daytona, which we'll put up here in just a second. So I do like the more dressy accepted watches that a lot of people like, Speedmasters, some of the Rolex stuff, even the watch that I'm currently wearing, which is a Komatsu, has the Jubilee bracelet.
Okay, show the camera.
Oh, we'll get it up here.
Just hold it right up to there, and so you can.
Yeah.
Or hold up the camera, but hold the focus area.
Yeah.
There it is.
There it is. We slapped the Jubilee bracelet on there. Kind of makes it look more like the maybe some of the Explorers or Datejusts and those sorts of things.
I would definitely say your dive watches are less tooly and more dressy, which you're kind of going you're kind of moving the spectrum towards that end of wearability versus when you go and work on something. What do you put on?
when I go and work, it would be I have a Square.
The Square.
I wear the Square if I don't really want to think about taking care of a watch. That thing can just be beat for years on end and still work. So
would you wear the dressier dive watch working, or would you intentionally put the Square on?
For the most part, I would say if it's light work, I would still keep the watches that I currently have. Maybe not like a specific dress watch.
Yeah.
But if it's going to be like outdoor mowing or, working, outdoors, for the most part, it's going to be that Square. But
right.
I have worn field watches, which aren't dressy, but that's kind of maybe the medium.
Would you say you're a risk taker when it comes to design for your watches? Like you like watches that have kind of a little bit more out there design flavor to it, or are you more conservative?
More conservative.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I was going to say that, but I think, yeah, you've got one watch up here that's a little bit different. So, and we can put the Square up there and show people what you like to, because that was one of the ones that you liked, right? Want to go grab? All right. So we got the Square, and would you say this is one of the watches like you would definitely have a Casio-esque or a Casio watch?
Yeah, so this is one of the only G-Shocks that I actually like the design of. And for the most part, as far as G-Shocks go, there's not a ton going on besides some of the wording. And I remember when I first saw the Square, I actually wanted there to be almost no wording. They did have the blacked out display one.
Yeah.
But I didn't like the blacked out display to begin with. So if they could just take some of the words off of here and make it look a little bit less busy, that might be the perfect G-Shock.
So you really you like things clean, clear.
Yeah.
Minimal.
I don't want to.
So do you like the Bauhaus design flavor?
I don't even know what that is.
Okay, so it's like a dial that has just barely indices. It goes edge to edge on the crystal in the case. So the dial goes all the way out to the edges. It's very plain. It's usually white or cream.
Not necessarily that. I do like the kind of the metal rim around it. What would you call it?
Bezel.
The bezel. Yeah. I do like the bezel, and the Daytona replica has got one of those and a thicker one.
It's not a Daytona replica, it's an homage.
All right, homage. My bad.
I've actually got a video on there really railing on replica terminology. But anyway, so let's hold this up here one more time, and we'll get a good view. Where is it? There it is. All right, so we got the Casio covered. We got the initial dive watch covered. I'm wearing a G-Shock. I like G-Shocks. I don't mind some of the bigger ones. Do you like G-Shocks that are closer to the wrist?
Yeah, like that Square is a lot.
It's a slim fit. So you like it slick. This is a military term. Slick means you don't have stuff in your plate carrier. It's plain. So slick on a slick watch, just slick on the wrist, nothing sticking up.
Yeah, I don't want it to bump into
Garbage.
too much.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
And I have smaller wrists to begin with, so that might be a big part of it.
Yeah, so do you find dive watches, there's a question. Do you find there are certain dive watches that you just don't go down that path because of size? Is it height? Is it width? Is it both? What is it?
So I would say past 42 millimeters is pushing it for me, just because.
Do you know what size your wrist is, just for people?
I think 6.5.
Okay.
Because for the most part, I'm on the last little loop there for most of the bands and that sort of deal.
Yeah. Okay. We'll have to get you some meat potatoes tonight.
Oh,
okay. Boy. All right, next.
You'll see, like I said, I have drank the Kool-Aid a little bit as far as what is popular already. So a lot of the watches that I will be showing have elements that are popular from another watch.
This one has a lot of elements.
And this one is the most obvious. Probably get some comments for that, but who cares?
Who cares? That's right. All right. So this is the Sugis. I'm not sure you know what the brand name is, but this is the Sugis. I think it's the D1, or I don't remember what the model number is, but this is not the latest version. They just came out with another version, updated movement. The movement, I guess, is a little bit better. I don't know if the power reserve is better or whatnot, but anyway, so explain your choice here.
I really like the kind of panda, Oreo, black and white types of things. Like even in shoes, when I was in early high school, I was looking at like Kobe shoes they were called like the Oreos or something. So just that like stark contrast of the colors there. And again, it's pretty conservative, white and black. There's no yellows, purples, those sorts of deals. Not like the Sear trophy watch.
Yeah, that's the watch. That's a video about that. We were getting groceries today, and I asked you the question about chronographs, and you said maybe certain ones. Is this one of the chronographs that you'd go for?
This is the one that I do like. I think maybe it has to do with the black circles around each of the the dials in the chronograph. Like that sticks out. It looks iconic, so I recognize it right away. I don't think it necessarily, I'm looking at that as, okay, well, it's expensive, so that's why I like it. But I do like that design, and a lot of people do.
I got into it with a guy in the comments about this style of homage where it's very, very close. And the guy was trying to foist on me that I was doing this because I wanted to wear a Rolex. I was like, no, take the name off of it. It's not the Rolex. I love the design. Mm-hmm. And I have other watches where I love the design, but for some reason, some people just do not let go of the idea that, well, because this is a Rolex, you must, want to flex. I think the term he was using was like, you're flexing. It's like, I don't care what the name is on this. I like the design. Rolex happens to come out with it. Matter of fact, I'm not a fan of Rolex. I'm not. I like this design, but I'm not a fan of Rolex overall as a brand and what they've done. I think it's just kind of boring stuff, except for this one. This is the one that I really like as far as design goes.
Mm-hmm. And they clearly have designers that have put a large amount of time, probably more than some of the smaller watchmakers, into some of these designs. So maybe that's part of it. They've been in the industry probably for a lot longer. So there are small things like that could add up into maybe what could be objectively a better design, but there's no objectivity in something like watches. So
yeah, and I was just going to throw this in there too. The Seiko Speed Timer looks really similar to this style of watch. Mm-hmm. And there's a few others that are out there that have minor differences, and I like all of them because I like the design.
I have looked at the Speed Timer.
And I know you have. Yeah, and I know you have. And this is kind of I'm trying to make a point for everybody out there that this truly is an appreciation for the design itself. Mm-hmm. Even if there's some differences in other manufacturers homaging, the Daytona. I like those other variances too because I like the overall design of that chronograph. Okay, so you like this one. Is there one that's kind of the antithesis of this as far as chronographs go, or
just the opposite?
The opposite.
Yeah. I don't think I have one right up here as far as a chronograph that would be the opposite. Maybe just something that, I guess this has a decent amount of markers, but just more information that they try to slap into the dial. I would say that this homage does have detail. It's got the indices. It's got some different numbers here and there, but for the most part, I would consider it clean, just because you could add more to it, and I think that would take away from it.
Okay, let's go to the next one.
All right. So this is a Zelos.
Oh, my favorite micro brand.
Is it a field watch? That is the question.
Yeah, on their website they call it, I'm just going to adjust it a little bit here, they call it a field watch, but I beg to differ strongly. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you like this watch?
I do like this watch. The dial has that kind of glittery type effect, which I don't consider busy because it's doing one thing. And it's pretty consistent overall. It does have the kind of the fume or whatever it's called.
Fume.
But again, it doesn't have numbers. It's very clean. There's not really much going on. It's like not distracting. Maybe that's a word for it.
What about the materials for the case and bracelet? This is titanium. Do you like the lighter weight stuff versus
I don't
the
really
steel? No preference.
Care either way. I think the weight for me, with a lot of things, feels higher quality, but with titanium, you kind of have to learn that, like, oh, this is higher quality, even if it doesn't feel like that.
Yeah, I hear that a lot. I see that a lot, that people like the weight of a watch. I prefer more often than not the weight of the watch. I also like an ultralight watch. Mm-hmm. You have one that's a contrast to that one?
Oh, absolutely. It's actually up here, not in contrast, but as far as even being lighter.
Okay.
So this is a watch I like, but it does have... Oh, boy.
Oh, yeah. That's fine. It'll work.
So this is a watch that feels like a toy when you pick it up. Like there's just nothing to it.
And this is the Swiss watch company Bunker, SWC Bunker.
Yeah. So this is the Bunker. I've looked at this in a few different colors, kind of like maybe I'll get it, maybe not. But it's very striking when you pick it up because it just feels like, well, this is a cheap thing from China because plastic is cheap. Plastic doesn't weigh that much, but this is titanium, so it's a precious metal. Mm-hmm. So once you get over that part, I think the design of this watch, especially with the leather bracelet, really works well together. There's numbers on this one, which I don't usually go for, but I think they're done well. The logo's a little big for my taste, but I think with it having more toned down colors, kind of having simplicity in some of the other parts of the design, I'm okay with it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can totally see that. All right. And just to mention, the other one was the Zelos Swordfish Aurora. Yeah. So, okay. So contrasting that one, what do we have? Do you have one that contrasts that one?
Yes. Well, let's go with another Zelos.
All right.
And the reason I have this one kind of contrasting has to do with the color. So,
okay.
Make this in a blue, and I love this watch.
I love this color. Like, I think you need to branch out.
Yeah.
Put in the comments down below if Noah should branch out into other colors.
When I look at a color like yellow, and I'm thinking, okay, like what does this match? Because it doesn't obviously match everything. I feel like I'd have to wear all black.
Right. So
and if it's gonna pop, it's gonna pop.
When I wear this because it's watch time. Like, it's just the watch is going to stand out, and I'll wear like something like I'm wearing like grays or subdued colors, and then the watch just jumps out. Yeah, that's totally what. And of course, this is a full lume dial, full lume bezel, all that stuff. So it's got that. I love that part. Do you like the indices though on this one? Pretty straightforward, plain.
Yeah, like if you look at the dial, there's not.
So the color really is kind of
It really is just the color.
Yeah. So if the color changed, you'd be fine.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. All right. So we got the color in there. We know that you don't like busy indices, logo. All right. Those are some of the things you don't like, but you do like design, simplicity, clarity.
Mm-hmm.
You're not a fan of numbers, like the plain indices. All right. Let's go to the next one. Next one is.
So I like a watch to kind of almost hide on my wrist. I don't want it to be.
We may have to hold that one up, I think. We may have to hold that one up.
Yeah. Hold that one up. So here
All right,
go.
so this is the, oh man, what is this? This is the 1700, I think. What's the model number in the back of the case? I think it's the AE 17 or the
1700H.
WS. Is it WS 1700? Yeah.
There we go. So this watch, I'd say sticks out a lot more. Now it is black. That helps a little bit to make it look a little bit slimmer, but for the most part, a watch like this is just going to kind of be distracting. Okay. I think if I'm wearing it around, like it is plain for everyone to see, kind of draws their attention. And I'm not really for that. I think if someone notices your watch, it's more of like kind of they see it, and then from there maybe they start noticing details rather than kind of being thrown at whoever's looking at them. If I care what other people think.
So contrast that with the square. Hold both of them up together. Put them both up there. Yeah, side view, just to get the height. Because I think it's the height. Is that part of what you're talking about?
The height, and you might not think that the height is very different here, but a lot of it has to do with kind of the sharp angles that it also has.
Yeah.
So like this one has multiple raised edges that are short little pieces, little peaks on the watch.
Yeah.
Versus the other kind of, like you said, the slick.
Yeah. Yeah. So the GBD H2000, which Jim Kincaid got me onto, this definitely has the peaks on it, even more so than maybe that one does. But so there's a part of me when I'm looking at watches that I don't want it to catch on things because maybe the crystal on it is acrylic, and I really don't want to scratch it up. Although Polywatch gets that out, so maybe it's the mineral crystal I'm most sensitive over. But the point is that I'll wear a watch that I know is high profile, that I know that can handle the abuse, or I can polish things out.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. What's another watch you're not really a fan of?
All right, so this is the last one. This is the antithesis of what I...
Let them have it. Let them have it. Put it in the comments. Let them have it. This is a great watch. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I love flat design. When I think most famously what brought flat design into the forefront, now every company has decided that it's the best, was iOS with Apple. Their operating system switched over to a much more flat and simple design.
Yeah.
And then all these apps had to reorganize what their icon looks like. And that kind of started going everywhere in design. So now everything is flat and minimal, and some people hate it. I love it. I think it looks...
Okay.
It's simple to read. It can be punchy if it wants to be, but it's not in your face. And this is not. It is...
Citizen Nighthawk.
It has a couple markers on there. And I just, when I look at it, I am distracted by everything except for what I'm looking for, which is just the time.
Okay, I find this one, I agree with most of it except for the time. I find this one to be legible. I can read the time, no problem. but there's a lot of other stuff in there. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
But the handset I think is pretty good. The handset really stands out. It's really bold. Sometimes, like you go back to the Daytona handset is not very bold. It doesn't really stand out as well as I think it could, with just a little bit more contrast. But you look at the watch like this, and it has a lot of contrast. So as far as timekeeping goes, I'm okay with it. But you just don't like. I mean, there's just a lot of text on there.
Yeah, there's too much text.
The calculator, the whole thing.
I'm using this for a simple analog clock. If I need anything more, for the most part for me, I am an Apple Watch owner. So if I need information, I have all of the information in a smartwatch.
So I have one challenge to Noah, because he goes through and tells me all of the simplicity, clarity, all that stuff. And then we have this watch right here from San Martin, the SN022. And he laughs, but it's like, this is about as simple as it's going to get.
Yep, you can take things too far, as this company
Black
has found
and
out.
white, 12, 3, 6, and 9. So it does have numbers on there. But I don't get why this doesn't make your list. This one should make your list.
It's minimal. It's too far.
Okay. All right.
I think there's some brands, and there's a popular German brand out there that is famous for their kind of white dials. There's like nothing on it. I think that's too far. It's to the point where it's boring.
Okay.
So I do need something, and the watches I have up here usually have one piece that's like, okay, that's minimal, but here's where the minimalism is used for a purpose, is their one feature is kind of elevated because everything else is lower.
So just so people know your age range, you fall within the 20 to 25 age bracket, right?
Allegedly, yeah. Okay. So, because I think this is part of a generational thing. Like, there's generational preferences. You get to my vintage, and we have preferences that are different from your vintage. So, I mean, you guys just don't know what you're talking about. So I'm picking the nursing
Apple
home
watches. Yeah, that's right. He'll be the one putting me there. Dad, I think it's time to go to the nursing home. All right. Any other final comments on preferences as far as watches go? Like, guidance maybe, like from because you've been in the watch thing for a few years, right? 4 or 5 years, 3 years, I don't know.
Yeah, I think about 2, maybe 2.5 years at this point.
So if somebody wants to buy their first watch, you're going to obviously have your bias injected into this comment. So what would be your comment to someone who's buying their first watch?
First watch is just all about versatility, I think. Okay. So if you see a flashy watch, maybe like that yellow Zelos, I would think for the most part, well, like, what could this match with? And I think there's very few. So if I wanted to wear my one watch all the time, I needed to just go with everything. So when people talk one watch collections, it does have to just kind of be something that can slip into all categories. So for me, a dressier sports watch can really do that.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Like that, you get to those other flashier, trashier kind of watches after you get past the first few.
Yeah, and you can have fun once you have maybe your bases covered, but
don't you go buying a watch that is flashy as your first watch.
Don't go picking what you want. Listen to us.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want.
Well, put in the comments down below what you think of this little investigation into the thought and mind of Noah. And so thank you, Noah, for doing this. We, like, once a year he comes out here. We do a quick interview, and we've done this one. This is good. And I think it's good also to get a different generational view of watches out there. So put in the comments down below what you think of this. Also check out my webpage, realidealgear.com, for reviewed watches and gear at a much, much lower price than you're going to find anywhere else. And there's also a couple of limited edition watches for sale out there if you're interested in something like that that's just not available anywhere else. So check those out as well. Noah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we'll catch you guys next time.
Closing. Oh, shoot.
Give you a clap. You say action.
Oh.
You gotta say action.
Action.
Okay. Action, and then you do it.
Action.